Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome back to Nuna Kanata, which is a full sort of highly detailed sandbox park here in Planet Zoo. If you've just catching this for the first time, this is episode 5 of the series, and it is a North American, Canadian specifically focused sort of conservation park as opposed to just a zoo. And we're taking a lot of references from North American traditional culture, but also some sort of fantastical culture as well. So a lot of kind of Grizzly Adams kind of theming stuff. But then also we're taking a look at a lot of Inuit references as well, being that I now live in Canada, and it's a fascinating area of their history. So a lot of the signs and things like that we're using Inuktitut, which is one of the languages of the Inuit people, and also we're trying to sort of reference other Inuit areas of their tradition as well, with things like the Inukshuk statues that we'll be placing there a little bit later on. Excuse me, I can feel that one coming since I started recording. First of all, though, talking of signs, we have these awesome fonts by Ricey. Incredible work, Ricey. I'm such a fan of when people produce this kind of stuff because it looks incredible. And I think it really sort of elevates a build. Somebody else said this week, and I can't remember who it was who said it in one of their videos. They said that these fonts really elevate a build. I think that's a great way of putting it, because you just get to move away from those slightly sort of cartoony fonts that the game comes with, the very sort of set signs that the games come with. They really just sort of they just make a build pop, absolutely pop. So we've gone for Grizzly Ridge here. I did look at some Inuktitut words for there's Grizzly Bear, which is Nagat, I think, or something like that. They didn't look too great on the sign, so I've gone for a British name, it's an English name instead, Grizzly Ridge Bear Conservation Project. Now, originally, this wasn't really the plan. The building here that we're looking at was just a back stage building, which is a staff building. But then the river kind of flowed up, and then we added the YouTuber Falls and frame rate rapids and all those. So we needed to get people up to there, or at least provide a path for people to get up to there. So suddenly that area there that was originally a staff path became a guest focus path. So all I've done with that one then is added that sign and made that building look more of a sort of conservation centre, education centre, through some simple signage there. And then we've got the larger building that we did here last episode. I'm pretty sure it was last episode, yeah, which is the Aerocar station. The Aerocar being the cable car that goes over the whirlpool and the rapids area for really sort of great vistas. And really, we're just kind of joining that area up and the front area of the conservation park through pathing, fences, and a little bit of terrain work. And really, that's the main chunk of this video. Well, at least the start of this video is really sort of getting those two areas joined up, and using some natural pathing here. This is something that I got from Mike Sheets' latest garden rescue, where he went into Ruby's Park and did basically rebuilt the zoo pretty much from the ground up. But one of the things he points out there is that sort of pathing, cobblestones or crazy paving or anything like that is quite expensive to not only place down but also to upkeep. And actually, you'll find that a lot of zoos have more of a natural substrate as a path. So things like bark chip, and pebbles. What's the word? I can't think what the word is. I've got pebbles in my head, but that's not right, is it? That kind of stony path. I forgot the words. But yeah, they use that, sort of like either a basic concrete pathing or just a sort of push down ground path, and then they cover it up with that sort of either that bark chip or those small stones. So placing that around as much as I can. Obviously, the entrance area is still going to be pathed. That's where there's still going to be, a little bit of higher maintenance kept for the entrance area where it gets seen. Excuse me, just having a little drink. Got really dry throat today. I think it's the time of the year. Unfortunately, my little son is currently sat on the sofa playing some games on the iPad, and he's all snuffly as well. You might be able to hear him in the background. I don't know whether the mic's picking him up or not. We have this really lovely sort of open viewing area that's not only the exit of the Aerocar, but also just an area for people to come and sit and basically get wet. You would get sprayed from the falls sitting that close to them, but that's sometimes part of the fun, right? And we kind of finish off all the terrain on this side of the whirlpool. That big cliff face that Mike started still needs a good couple of hours getting that finished. So probably a live stream job, that one, I reckon, or at least something that we will do in the future. But yeah, it definitely needs to kind of get finished off. But here we wanted lots of sort of low-lying shrubs because this pathway here is a really great spot to see the falls from. Not sort of a set spot, you know. Obviously we have the lookout point there that you can see that we built on the charity live stream, and then obviously the aero car and the patio at the back of the aero car station. That's also a great spot as well. But pretty much anywhere up here can be seen. So I've gone for a really sort of low-lying shrubs, and then also some trunks in there, some where the trees may well have been removed to kind of open up the area there so it can be really seen. Now there's probably a little bit of a juxtaposition there with this sort of meaning to be a natural conservation area, and then them chopping down trees so we can get a pretty view. But I kind of feel like it's the sort of thing that might happen, you know, at the end of the day. Probably what they would really do is relocate the trees, right? They would try their best to take them up and replant them. But to kind of give the idea of there once being more foliage here that's been removed, I've gone for a few of the trunks anyway, even though actually probably they would have been a little bit more careful and a little bit more sympathetic to the area when they came to open this area up for viewing. Filling in the forest here, again, I stupidly built this so close to the edge. I heard horror stories of people building a little bit further away from the entrance and nobody entering the park because it was too far away. Hi kiddo, you coming to sit with us? Come on then. So I built right up to the entrance, and I think now actually probably the whole thing could have gone sort of 40 feet away so that we could have smoothed out the transition away from that forest, whereas actually we've just sort of got a deadline where the end of the map is. But you know what? These things that we deal with and just kind of shake them off. You know, in the older Roller Coaster Tycoon games, the whole map was just a square anyway that ended into oblivion. So I have no real problem with it kind of ending at some point. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll get a scenario editor like we did with Planet Coaster. And with the scenario editor of Planet Coaster, it actually allowed the ability to extend the map a little bit. So there's been some massive terrain work here. I did not film it because, quite frankly, it took me the best part of a day just to get that marshland area set up there. And at the moment, it is literally just terrain and water. The actual marshland area is not done yet, so I'm hoping that a guest is going to come in and do some magic on that. And she does know that I want her on, but I haven't told her exactly what she's doing yet. But yeah, hopefully we'll have a guest on to come and do some awesome foliage and terrain work there on the marshland. But what I really wanted is a viewing area that goes onto this marshland, because this marshland will eventually be part of the pronghorn and bison conservation area. So again, we're not really making a zoo here, so we're trying our hardest not to just have cages, or at least, you know, sort of fenced areas where animals live, and actually we're trying to sort of really create very natural areas that we are able to get into. Huh? Oh, Daddy's phone. Yeah, let's leave Daddy's phone, hey, because last time you did that, you unlocked it for half an hour. So when you go and play on your iPad for a bit while Daddy does some talking, okay? Good job. So we really wanted a viewing area for this what's it called, the marshland area, and somebody actually shared this on the last episode of Nuna Kanata, and I'm so sorry that I don't have who it is written down. I'm going to try and see if I can find it. But they've pointed out that there's a place in the UK. It's actually in Lancashire. It's actually not a million miles away from where I used to live, although I never went. My wife did. I spoke to Nicola about it, and she said that she used to go there. And also, for a brief time when she worked as a teacher, she took the kids there on school trips, and it's called Martin Mere. And it's basically a mere, which is sort of a large area of natural land, really, that's often covered partially with water. And I'm going to try and search for comments and see if I can find who it was who said it. Here we go, Martin Mere. And somebody suggested that Martin Mere has got these awesome, it's mostly for birds, it's a bird sanctuary, and they have lots of wading birds, and they have these awesome sort of bird huts, these bird watching areas that are built in various different styles. And one of them, Ipsy, there we go, Ipsy EU, thank you very much, Ipsy, for the comments, I really appreciate it. They said that there's one called the Harrier Hide, which, whilst it is in the UK, it is a UK build, it's possibly the most American thing I've ever seen in my life. It basically looks like a massive eagle, and I think it's the absolute perfect fit for Nuna Kanata. Exactly. There's also something like totemic about it, almost like a totem pole kind of style build to it as well. So here's what we're building now. Now, the one I'm building on the screen actually completely gets ripped out in a minute. We don't use it at all, and this is purely a case of me building good enough and then realizing actually that good enough isn't good enough. So here I'm just using some really plain planks and sticking them on the side of a big box, and it doesn't look right. It looks okay, but it doesn't look like the source material, and it doesn't look as good as I know I can make it. But I wanted to leave it in because I wanted to show you the process there of kind of what happens when you look at something and you sort of stand back and go, no, do you know what? I can do better than this. I'm making this for the sake of a video as opposed to making it look good. So the one thing I really did struggle with actually was getting the path up to it. The one in real life uses this. Xander's sorry, jumping around to Paw Patrol. The one in real life's got this really small little wooden steps up, which obviously we can't do if we want guests in the park to actually go and use it. And also, I'm keeping accessibility in mind in this park as well. We've got a few sort of wheelchair lifts where we need them, but for the most part, I'm trying to use slopes to allow easier access for people with disabilities. So with that in mind, this is what we ended up with, but it ends up looking really chunky and really just not as good as it could do. But I wanted to leave it in because, like I say, I wanted to show you the process. And for the most part, the back side of the building in real life is very plain. It's pretty much a wooden box with some window slits in it, and it's just this front that uses this awesome plank structure to create this sort of bird of prey style view. And I really like that juxtaposition of the front where the guests can see being really pretty and beautiful and artistic, but the back being quite serviceable and does exactly what it needs to do as far as the animal welfare is concerned. Something we spoke about a lot on the channel, almost like a theme parky vibe to it, with the front of house and back of house. Here then there's a huge jump to actually version 3 of this because I decided on my own that it wasn't good enough and started again using planks just to get more detail and basically build the whole structure out of these planks as opposed to just sticking them to a wall. That was done with the plain planks, but then I shared it on the Bro Nation just to kind of get some feedback, and somebody on the Ulrich, it was one of our patrons, said on Bro Nation, said, well, it's really nice, but there's a painted there's a painted plank that you can use, and you might give it that slightly sort of weathered look with the paint. I was like, oh, thanks very much. I'll start again. So this is actually version 3. It just shows you sometimes, this iterative build style. Build style that has iterations. Iterative build style, I think, is correct. Sometimes, it ends up that it's version 4, 5, 6, 7 that ends up going actually in the park and going on the video. So I wanted to kind of show you a little bit of that process here. And again, here I'm building the whole thing out of planks. There's no sort of wooden structure on the back of this. It's much more natural. It's much more free-flowing. And I think it was well worth doing. I think it turned out a lot better. So at the moment, this is just kind of plonked down. I mean, in real life, it's kind of just sitting there on a sort of bank of a mere that you can go in and see various different birds nesting on the inside of it. But here it is very, very much just sort of plonked down at the moment because I really kind of need to get some of that river infrastructure in place before we carried on, mostly because of the weird issue that you've got sometimes where you can't replace water, so you kind of need to put your water in and then work around it. And again, that's also quite realistic. That's obviously, in real life, if this was a real place, the river would already have been there and would have been there for thousands of years, and we as humans are coming in to kind of work around it really, and try our best to keep it as natural as possible, yet still accessible and interesting for members of the public to come in and see. So here we go then, we've got the build on the back again, keep this really plain. Needs a bit of detail inside. Obviously we'll have some education boards or whatever in there, but I really wanted this sort of small slot of glass to really sort of get this bird nook idea across, and I think it's turned out really quite nice. But again, like I say, there won't be any birds in here. The only birds we've really got in the game at the moment are ostrich and flamingos. Neither of those would work. If we do end up getting something like heron or and other types of wading bird, I definitely would like to come and maybe readdress this and maybe move the buffalo and bison up to more of a plains area. But I really quite like the idea of having the bison and buffalo into a really large area that has both a plains and a sort of mere, this marshland, and they can move back and forth between the two, and we have two completely separate viewing areas for them. So this is the marshland viewing area, but then we also have a plains viewing area later on as well. Okay, so finally we'll have a quick overview of the changes as we can see them then. So now as we come into the left here, we've got sign for restrooms and Grizzly Ridge this way. We can see this signage here for the Grizzly Ridge Bear Conservation Project. Leave the microphone, thank you Xander. Xander's now sitting with me, wants to see what's going on. And then we've got this woodland walk here then that takes us up to Falls View Aerocar. And like I said, I would love a few more layers of tree there, but we are literally on the edge of the park, unfortunately. So once we get to about here, it's fine. We've now got the first resting place for our first Inukshuk. These are Inuit statues that are often used as waypoints in the northern areas of Canada. We have a viewing platform here for looking over frame rate rapids. And then we come down, lots of picnic areas, lots of natural spaces to sit and eat. Then we have the aero car here and YouTuber Falls. So this cliff here then still needs a lot of work, but this side I'm pretty much boxing off now as we come up to the Falls View aero car. Still questioning whether or not something needs to go in there to try and get some actual guests up here, because at the moment they're just not going to. Xander's pressing the left mouse key and has just drowned us. Thank you, kiddo. So now we're going to head back down then to the other side of today's build, which is the what's it called? The sort of viewing area. But Xander would like to see the bear. Do you want to see the bear? Yeah. Stop pressing buttons then. Where's the bear? Down here. Look. Can we see if we see him? Can we see him? Oh, there he is, look. There's Daddy's bear. Oh, he's got a ball. Bear's ball. Is that good? Huh? More bear. There's the bear, look. First thing he said when I opened this part before was, bear's gone. So he's not gone. He's just chilling out over there. Another sign then, working our way down Falls View Aerocar, Grizzly Ridge, and also Tarahak Kinguk, which is a Nukatut for, well, you'll have to do a bit of research or wait and see what that's for, to be honest with you. Viewing area here, may not use this one. This is the last one, just copied over, but I wanted something down here. Animal-wise down here, I do think we need to try and get some animals in here, so maybe some more bears. Timber wolves are going to be across the river over there, and then obviously all of this will not stay like this. It's going to be heavy foliage, but then we come up and you can see a bit of a size idea of the building here, and a much smaller path that people are now able to get up to and access as they come in and be able to see over the marshland. And yeah, I think it looks great. I think it looks really natural. At the moment, like I say, it does kind of stick out like a sore thumb, but imagine a lot of this being built up. Also started to work on some terrain shift. Again, all this is very much a work in progress. The only bit that's pretty much staying as it is. He's saying hello. There we go. Right, okay. I think we'll leave it there because me trying to have a daddy day and record is not a good plan, but I've got a little bit backed up this week. We're going to go to playgroup and swimming today. Should we get to playgroup? Yeah? Okay. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next one, be good.
Bye.